a 14-year-old movie, and I just regardless of time. I mean, time usually doesn't matter much when it comes to movies. Anyway, yeah, regardless, the thing is, I mean, it tried to be something other than any other stereotypical rom-com, right? But it had elements, it had bits and pieces, primarily the voiceover. That probably was one of the funniest bits, but that's the thing, that's the extent of its comedy, I think. I mean, it's mostly tries to be some sort of romance, and it's ridiculous in a way. It's almost like for weddings and a funeral, and that it tries to do a lot of things all at once, and somehow, yeah, let's do them all, yeah. It's what I don't know why they decided to go with two relationships. They seemed quite forced. Like, I mean, the one that's the one with Cameron Diaz wasn't too forced, even though it began quite abruptly. It is, by the way, a very long movie. I mean, no rom-com should be over 2 hours long. It's ridiculous. 2 hours and 15 minutes. It's a goddamn marathon. I mean, it's not that complex. It could have told its story much shorter. And it's really not. And it's just a lot of going back and forth, going around in circles. But yeah, Jack Black's relationship isn't really convincing. In fact, Wha- what's I don't know. Was he only did he only begin being funny after it? It just that he doesn't seem to have been very. I mean, he just repeated what you said, etc. It is in a way the stereotypical rom-com. Honestly, besides the fact that it was sort of meta sometimes when they mentioned other movies and whatnot. The Yeah, sure enough, the non-stereotypical aspects centered around her friendship with the old man. It wasn't, that's not normally in most rom-coms. That was sort of interesting, although ultimately it was still fictional, because of course it was in the end an actor, not a screenwriter. But by all means, ultimately you need an actor to play an actor, I suppose. When it comes to the meta aspects, then I mean, it's not exactly doesn't feel exactly too superficial. So in the sense that too much navel grazing sort of thing. So in that sense, it wasn't too bad. Also sort of interesting. I just would prefer to listen to a bit more of the old man's speech on the podium rather than those two babbling on about their next date. This is the problem when it comes to movies. The focus is on some bizarre sort of tips. Just I don't get. Ultimately, though, yeah, I mean, it is a mechanical rom-com. So in that sense, it's very stereotypical. It's like they obviously do try to match and mix the two stories, in the two different countries. At first, I thought it was going to be a comedy based on, just like it began at the beginning, when it comes to, like Cameron Diaz, fearing for her life just because she's not used to driving one side or another. But it didn't really progress much more than that, It really didn't, It just went straight ahead and to the romantic aspects. I really hate it when it comes to that, honestly. Like, you could have, but we just really just hammered in the romantic relationships, and they make no sense. I don't know. I mean, as I said, maybe Cameron's relationship made a bit of sense, but um, you know, not, you know, Jack Black isn't really. I didn't even know he did any rom-coms, to be honest, and he doesn't seem to be in for. I mean, it's just, this is what reduced it to some sort of, just another superficial sort of rom-com. It's just, I mean, saying that, then it's clearly, it seemed to be very successful commercially. So, what do I know? Guess maybe Jack Black has potential yet in future rom-coms. I'm sure he participated in many others though. You know, School of Rock certainly wasn't a rom-com, what I remember. Uh, Usually his comedies still aren't rom-coms, as far as I know. I've seen a few others, I forgot which now, but I don't think usually they are. When it comes to Cameron Diaz, I prefer her The Teacher though, that movie. I prefer that movie to this. Whenever people do pure rom-coms, they're, they're facile, honestly. They always tend to be. Some though might not be, but most are. Is the problem. Now, I've seen The Intern by the same director recently, also commented on. And I prefer that actually. It doesn't have that much more comedy, but in terms of unconventionality and originality, I think it exceeds this. You know, I think in terms of there wasn't any conventional relationship certainly. There were friendships and whatnot, but I don't get why these need to be forced. Really, they're like at the beginning or both, or just both, and the relationships. I mean, where on earth was such a coincidence occur and they just happen to message each other? And there's too many coincidences. What's the point of all these coincidences in a movie? And then at the end they just forced her to get. I mean, it's it clearly wanted to be something more than just yet another rom-com, and yet it didn't succeed. Also, by the way, with regards to the music, it really confused me. Like, besides the fact that they were intentionally trying to mimic others, like Jack Black's character supposedly being a musician as a character, and then imitating John Williams, I think, yeah. But you know what? This was Hans Zimmer composing it, it seems, and it's really confusing because I thought it might have been Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence once. I mean, I haven't actually watched that movie yet, but the music is pretty famous, so I'm quite used to it. And I'm pretty sure it was some sort of version of it. I don't know how it was here. I tried to search to see whether Hans Zimmer was inspired by Sakamoto maybe or not, but no mention at all. No mention of an inspiration. It's really confusing. Could swear it was inspired by something else. Otherwise, maybe I'm already familiar with this music, but I'm pretty sure that it sounds similar. Unless I'm mistaken. Maybe not the piano version specifically, that's just piano, but otherwise the tune is there, as far as I know. Um, but I'm not entirely sure now. Also, I don't know why they wanted to attach the journalist to a specific newspaper. It makes no sense, except for the possibility of ruining just what's the point? It's like why make it why not make it fictional? There's always an advantage to making things fictional. Certainly, but somehow not this one. And they even credited them at the end with letting them use their name. Sometimes if something is just I don't get why they went out of the way Do you just, oh, just make a little tiny text at the top, just to say that, as a, somehow it's so crucial. It wasn't even said in speech, just it just there, in text. It makes no sense. Why did they go over there? Is this a some superficial rom-com, or is it supposed to be something to do with, actual? It's not ultimately, nothing substantial. So I don't know why they even bother doing this. And are you seriously? This was just one element, besides the, mechanical rom-com elements. We another element that ruins the experience, really ruins the enjoyment. Not thoroughly, not totally. I mean, it was only there for just like a minute or so, or a bit more maybe, but really, it doesn't really make it a much better, rom-com experience. I also don't know if there's such a thing, honestly, because most rom-coms are pretty lame in a way, but this makes it lamer in another way. And besides, as usual, it falls into the usual trap of focusing on the romance, the supposed romance, instead of the comedy. But then you got this as well, which not many other rom-coms do. So in a way, it's even worse than many, because, well, why focus? Why not make it universal?